Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP, Nick's here in attendance with you once again. We are going to be going through, this time, our recap of NXT, the weekly recap from WWE. This was the 1st of April edition of NXT, so how about we break everything down that took place on this show, and let's get into all the action. So, we would kick things off with the, well, with the two-time champion Stephanie Vaquer. She would be coming down to the ring with her NXT Women's Championship as well as her NXT North American Women's Championship, and she would be joined by Ava in the ring, the general manager of NXT. Stephanie would basically go on to have like a little bit of a sort of like a conversation with Ava, sort of like hyping up her her results last week, becoming the first ever person in WWE history under the WWE banner to defend two titles on the same night. They would reflect on that a little bit before they get into brass tacks, and they'd go on to the main topic of conversation that brought them out here into the ring. That would be an announcement courtesy of Ava. To a chorus of boos from the NXT audience, she would basically announce that Stephanie Vaquer would be relinquishing her Women's North American Championship. Seems like a little bit of an odd decision to put the belt on her in the first place if they were going to go down this road to then have her relinquish it, but we can talk about that a little bit later on. Either way, we would then go into like part 2 of the announcement, which would be that Ava would say there would be a 6-woman ladder match at Stand and Deliver, where the winner of that ladder match would become the new Women's North American Champions. They'll obviously hang the title above the ring, 6 women looking to climb the ladder and to grab the championship. The contestants for said match will compete in singles matches over the next few weeks, starting with tonight. Those winners will then go on to Stand and Deliver to compete in that ladder match. So, naturally speaking, then, Steph would basically agree to the terms, but under one condition. She would say to Ava, look, I'm happy with this as long as I can choose who I defend my NXT Women's Championship against at Stand and Deliver. So, about a second later, once Stephanie basically said that she wanted to choose her opponent, out comes Jordynne Grace. The music will start playing. She'd head down to the ring with a microphone in hand. And basically she said to Stephanie, look, if you're choosing your opponent, we all know that you should choose me. People want to see the match between the two of us. This is the money match. This is exactly what everybody wants to see right here, right now. After a little bit of back and forth between the two women, mostly catered for Jordynne Grace, basically shooting her shot, we would then have Jada Parker come on down to the ring. Moments after Jordynne Grace said that she was done with Jada. Obviously, Parker doesn't agree with that. She's clearly not done with Jordynne Grace. She wants a shot at the NXT Women's Championship as well. Been a lot of heat between the two women in the last few weeks. Obviously, Jada Parker getting her shot last week against Stephanie Vaquer for the NXT Women's Championship in the first match of NXT, which Jordynne Grace got involved, essentially costing Jada the matchup. So Parker would sort of be looking back on that, basically expressing her annoyance of what took place, frustration towards Jordynne Grace, obviously costing her that title opportunity. And moments later, a brawl would spark out between the two women, where security would get involved. Jordynne Grace would end up basically sending Jada to ringside, and they would actually launch a security member like over the ropes and like very far into the air, like far enough that like the security guard actually went like really far over towards the bottom of the entrance ramp across the other security members who were there ready for the spot. So it was quite a showcase of these women here at the top of the division, looking to obviously compete for the NXT Women's Championship. Neither Jordynne or Jada are focused on the NXT Women's North American title, but they definitely want to have the NXT Women's Championship. So as to how that one's going to work out, we'll obviously have to wait and see down the line. But it was quite an interesting little brawl / announcement / double announcement to begin NXT. Quite historic after obviously the events that took place last week with Stephanie Vaquer doing double duty and winning both matches. We would then go into the next match of the night. The first match of the night. That would be Zarya going one-on-one with Last Legend. And this, literally off the back of what we just had then, was the first qualifying match for the NXT Women's North American Championship ladder match at Stand and Deliver. We would have Zarya defeat Last Legend. I think this is probably Zarya's biggest singles win since being on NXT. Don't think she's had too many singles matches. A lot of time recently, she's been involved in a tag team match with Sol Ruka, and they've been getting serious momentum recently. But in terms of serious singles competition, this is the first in a little while for Zarya, and it was nice to see her going up against someone like Last Legend, two heavy hitters of the women's division, two women who are incredibly strong and dominant in their own ways. And yeah, it was a pretty fun match to watch. Ultimately, Zarya gets the win in the end, and she books her spot at Stand and Deliver. So, the first entrant in the match already announced. We'll have to wait and see what the rest of the field's going to look like. There's still 5 of the matches to come in terms of who's going to qualify. The second match of the night would be a tag team contest. We would have No Quarter Catch Crew going up against Hank and Tank. In recent weeks, Hank and Tank have been getting the advice of certain, tag teams in WWE or WWE history, whichever you want to call it. This time, they were seen backstage just before the match started, dressed in the attire that is very familiar and synonymous with that of Pretty Deadly. A couple of seconds would pass by, and we'd actually see Kit Wilson and Elton Prince literally next to Hank and Tank, trying to give them some support and trying to encourage them to really get into the fashion-esque style that Pretty Deadly bring to the ring. Hank and Tank weren't really buying it. They weren't really feeling it. Ultimately, in the end, they took off the Pretty Deadly-inspired gear, and they would go down to the ring in their usual get-up. It's a bit of a different play of how they've been doing things recently, in terms of taking advice from WWE tag teams and whatnot. This one was maybe a case of not really taking that advice, but they did a little bit in the match, which maybe implied that they were sort of paying homage to Pretty Deadly. So I guess that's really sort of what they went on with in this one. No Quarter Catch Crew looked great. They had a really strong showing in this one. Ultimately came out on top against Hank and Tank in the end, getting the victory. There's a large piece of the commentary, basically how Miles Bourne is compared so much to Randy Orton, the young Randy Orton. And I think you do really see that when he's in the ring. He's got that sort of capability about him. But I really like the look of No Quarter Catch Crew. They're doing pretty well, and they look really good in this matchup. Hank and Tank, not sure what's next for them now, what tag team they're going to look for inspiration for next. But it's just an interesting story. I don't know if it's good or not. It's just quite interesting. I don't know. That's just how I describe it. Going on from that one then, we would have a promo with Trick Williams standing in the ring. He would, be pretty assertive, pretty aggressive with how he's speaking here. His demeanor very, very different as to the Trick Williams that we've seen literally a year ago. And we're going to talk about Trick from a year ago in a couple of moments. So Trick would go on to basically say stuff like, he's still the guy on NXT, and that he has absolutely not slowed down in focusing on getting back his NXT championship, currently held by Obafemi. Moments were passed by. Javon Evans would interrupt him. They've had a little bit of back and forth in the past few weeks, involved in interactions to and from. So this is the latest chapter of the sort of standoff between the two men. Javon compares his time right now, himself, to that of Trick's a year ago. So he would actually look back on last year where Trick was coming out of the shadow of Carmelo Hayes, and Javon Evans would basically go on to say that he's trying to come out of the shadow of Trick Williams, essentially. Javon would actually call Trick Carmelo Hayes, and like I said, would compare himself to that of to Melo, before calling him a hypocrite, before saying that he's done what no one else has done on this brand, and has actually laid out Obafemi, including Trick Williams. He hasn't been able to do that according to Javon Evans. Oba doesn't take long for him to come up. He literally say his name and he'd shut up straight away. Obafemi would come on down, and he would remind both men that this is his present, he is the present, and that he is the man to beat around here. Ava would quickly come on down. She would announce a triple threat match to take place at Stand and Deliver for the NXT title, before Oba would then clear the ring after the 3 men basically acknowledged the announcement of the triple threat. Literally, as soon as Obafemi clears the ring, it's like every single time something happened in the segment, there was always something literally ready straight away to take place next. As soon as Obafemi cleared the ring, Dark State would appear in the crowd, and they've been in the crowd a couple of times recently where Javon, Trick, and Oba have all been involved. And because they haven't been attacking, there have been a few questions as to maybe one of those guys in the ring is actually part of Dark State, maybe secretly, behind the scenes, perhaps, trying to keep his distance away, not to sort of alert too much attention towards them. But ultimately, in the end, maybe that's been proved wrong. because Dark State would attack all three men eventually. They would take out Obafemi and Javon Evans, and then Trick Williams would be alone in the ring with all four members of Dark State around him, and would then get mauled by Dark State. So yeah, maybe taking some questions away from that particular accusation. But regardless of that, Dark State look a dangerous threat. They are now attacking literally everybody in the NXT Championship picture. And they've attacked many other people on the brand as well. So these are the latest chapters of attackees or targets that are being attacked by this new faction that's looking to be really dominant here. So, Nick, regarding the start of NXT, what do you make of that announcement? Are you happy that Stephanie Vaquer is relinquishing her championship? Would you prefer to have seen her maybe lose it, I guess in some sort of way by a pinfall submission in a match? Or do you think this is ultimately the right way to go? But is it a confusing decision to even put the title on her in the first place? I'd like to hear your thoughts on all of that. The Women's North American Ladder Championship qualifying contest between Zarya and Lash. How did you find that one? As well as the tag team match. And then obviously Dark State interfering and attacking after that announcement of the triple threat.
Yeah, to kick off the show with the relinquishment announcement was a strange one. But as I've thought about it, I can't think of a better way to get rid of it. Obviously, we had heard the rumors about the injury, and so it made sense for Vaquer to take the title off Julia, if that did appear to be accurate, because we haven't seen her since. Obviously, Vaquer needs to be in the NXT Championship picture and over the North American. But she was going to have to relinquish that somehow then, I suppose. And it's tricky. It's a tricky scenario, and obviously the crowd didn't like it. And luckily, most of those are in a very small arena, so it wasn't as magnified as it probably would have been if they were in a regular size arena. But yeah, that's a tricky one. I suppose the silver lining is we get a 6-woman ladder match for the title. But yeah, I don't think there's a way they could handle that would have worked out. I think clearly they were, very last minute on what they were trying to do. And even this announcement felt very last minute. Felt like they were kind of scrambling a little bit. So yeah, I suppose they were kind of put between a rock and a hard place. They had to get rid of the North American title, and they obviously needed to keep her up with the NXT. Yeah, it is what it is, I guess. We'll see who grabs it at Stand and Deliver. And a little more on that later. The Lash Legend and Zarya match, yeah, was pretty good. Two heavy hitters. I think Lash Legend looked vastly better. I think she had her stuff together in the ring quite a bit, and so much so to where I could see them being called up to main at some point soon. And Zarya, you can tell, is by nature a tag team wrestler, or at least recently, because she had a couple of mishaps there, but Lash did her best to cover those. And so I really thought Lash would get the win here because of the fact that Zarya and Soul had been kind of moving up in the tag division. But yeah, we'll see where that goes. And I kind of thought Soul would get a match as well and that she would win. So I didn't think they would do both of them. But maybe she doesn't get one now that Zarya's in there. We shall find out. But yeah, this was a good match, and they gave them a good amount of time. The Hank and Tank pit with Pretty Deadly was pretty entertaining. Yeah, kind of in the same boat as you. I don't know where they're going with it, but the story is entertaining. I think eventually, the payoff's going to be they're just going to start racking up wins, and after they eventually figure it out and lose to every tag team in the division. But yeah, I think they're entertaining, and their in-ring is pretty impressive. And I think I mentioned that before. I didn't find them very entertaining at first, but they've grown on me. And yeah, maybe a couple more veteran tag teams we can get this figured out for them. And the main event picture on the men's side, yeah, kind of more of the same, really. Dark State announcing that we'll get that Dark State versus these three guys in a 6-man tag next week. This is another instance of I don't completely know where they're going with this. Obviously, we have this the title picture announced at Stand Deliver between Trick, Oba, and Javon. So I'm not sure exactly where this tag match and the Dark State come into play with that picture. But yeah, it's something different, and Dark State doing more of the same, but starting to show more and more of themselves and their personality. So I'm okay with that as long as we're keeping the wheels moving. But yeah, pretty entertaining NXT up to this point so far.
Yeah, definitely entertaining throughout the majority of this opening of NXT. And the entertainment didn't die down there because we still had a couple of matches still to come throughout the rest of the show. Some big things to talk about here. First of all, we'll go into Kalani Jordan going one-on-one with Roxanne Perez. And this would be an opportunity, like Zarya earlier in the night, to qualify for the NXT Women's North American Championship ladder match at Stand and Deliver. Roxanne Perez, she's never held the NXT Women's North American Championship. Only only 3 women actually have, to be fair. So not many have. But Roxy, she's basically done everything she can in NXT except for holding that title. So she naturally would want to be in this matchup. Kalani Jordan backstage at the same time would, basically shoot her shot, basically saying that she's one of the 3 women to have held the title before. She wants her gold back, and she wants opportunity to compete to qualify for that matchup. This would actually be Kalani Jordan going over Roxanne Perez in this contest and defeating her to qualify for Stand and Deliver. This was quite a fun matchup between the 2 women. It was a very good contest between them both. I thought that, both women really sort of like showed up here in this matchup. And it felt quite like it felt very important, which was kind of nice. Obviously, it is for a championship opportunity, going into Stand and Deliver, big show of the year for NXT WrestleMania weekend. But Kalani Jordan defeating Roxanne Perez, maybe a little bit of a surprise there. I wasn't really expecting it. I assumed Roxy would win. I don't really know what's going on with Roxy right now in terms of booking-wise. Going into Stand and Deliver, she doesn't have a match currently. Whether there could be maybe like a last chance qualifier or something down the line, I don't know. She doesn't really have anything going on main roster, which we thought that she did, but she hasn't been on main in a while now. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused by it all. I don't really know where she stands right now. But Kalani Jordan, obviously a standout competitor of NXT at the moment, and gets another opportunity on the big stage in a ladder match to maybe win the NXT Women's North American Championship back. But yeah, very interesting result. Didn't see this one really coming like this. But fair play to Kalani Jordan. She, goes on to a very, very big opportunity again. And then into our main event. This would be for the NXT North American Championship, so the men's title. And we would see Ricky Saints getting his first championship opportunity since joining NXT, since joining WWE, against the current champion Shawn Spears. He would defeat Tony D'Angelo a few weeks ago on NXT. So this match was very good. I really, really enjoyed this one. It was a top tier matchup between both men. I think when you get a match like this, I think these 2 men just know each other so well, have great chemistry together. You can see how easy it is for them to work with each other in the ring. And that seemed to happen here in this match. The match flowed really, really well. You had the other members of the Culling ringside who were obviously getting involved and interfering where they could, distracting Ricky Saints. And it would eventually build up to a position where Ricky would be gaining serious momentum. The Culling would look to get involved, and Ricky would actually fend off every single member of the Culling, except for Izzy Dame, for obvious reasons, and he would take out, basically everybody at ringside before then going back into the ring, where Shawn Spears would be waiting, literally like a brief sort of stare down before the finish would take place, and Ricky Saints would continue that momentum, rally up to get the victory in the end, and become the new NXT North American champion. It was a really fun match. I really enjoyed this one. Top quality main event here at NXT. Shocking title change. I didn't really expect the title to change hands. I thought something might have took place to maybe stop Ricky Saints from winning in the end. Maybe like a screwy finish or something like that. Perhaps courtesy of the Culling. But no, Ricky had answers for everything that they threw at them, and then obviously had an answer for Shawn Spears in the end by pinning him and claiming the North American Championship for his own. like I said, really, really good match. Really enjoyed it, and a little bit of a shocking end to NXT. Another title change. The second time this title's changed hands in about 4 or 5 weeks, I think, something like that. He didn't have a long run, Sean Spears. It's quite interesting that. But after the matchup would end, Ricky didn't really get much of a chance to celebrate before Ethan Page would lay him out in the middle of the ring. And Ethan's had a little bit of something to say about Ricky Saints recently. There's been a bit of back and forth between the two men backstage, and now Ethan Page, set his sights clearly on Ricky Saints to take him out, and he looks like he's coming for that NXT North American Championship as he was hold it high above Ricky to end NXT. Yeah, I mean, these couple of matches, I think maybe a couple of shocking decisions there, perhaps. I don't know, maybe I'm maybe I just overlooked, the hype of Ricky Saints here, perhaps in that main event matchup. But I don't know. I did think it was a little bit shocking, to be fair. Obviously, he's unbelievably talented. He had his best match since joining WWE, I think, in this one. Looked incredibly good. I think Sean Spears was great as well. Like I said, the two complemented each other very, very well. But then, yeah, Kalai Jordan and Roxanne Perez put on that match as well. That was definitely a shocker for myself. But what about you, Nick? Did you see these results going this way? Or are these a surprise to yourself as well?
Well, first of all, I think the biggest shock to me was seeing Roxanne back in NXT for about the 10th time. We thought for sure Roxy was done with NXT, but yet again, here she is. And then for her to be there and lose really didn't make any sense. Because obviously they don't have anything for her on main. I think the original plan, I think everyone thought was going to continue her and Bailey. But we're now down to, just over 2 weeks. So I don't know if that's enough time to build a match and have people, actively invested in it. I think, probably most of the diehards would be regardless. But in terms of the casual fan, which is what Mania tries to grab more of, I'm not sure that one would work. So with that being said, I suppose the main objective here was to get Kalani a big win, and I think that does accomplish its goal here. And as you mentioned, both women looked really good here, and further, Kalani getting the opportunity to go back to the North American Championship, and the match itself. Again, they gave him a good amount of time, similar to the first qualifier. But yeah, in the end, I think this was the right choice, even if Roxy isn't going up to main until after Mania. Yeah, I think Kalani has more to gain from a win here, so I think that was the right call and an enjoyable contest. And Ricky Saints defeating Sean Spears. Yeah, another good match. I don't think with these two guys and the chemistry they have, as you and commentary alluded to, clearly not their first rodeo, and a bit surprising, both due to the short reign of Spears and Ricky Saints' duration in NXT so far. But they're just they believe in Ricky Saints, so we'll see what happens. I thought one minor complaint is that they did make the Culling, who we've been waiting on. We've been building for quite some time. They did make them look a little weak with Ricky being able to evade and conquer all three of those members. But yeah, I think clearly they have high hopes with Ricky Saints. And then in my head, I thought, that this match would probably end how we ended up seeing the end, which was Ethan Page interfering. I just thought that would happen before the match was over. And that's kind of how they would continue that rivalry. That being said, I'm fine with Ricky Saints winning. Obviously, Sean Spears was never the long-term answer. We'll see how their faction can recover. And with that being said, Ethan Page and Ricky Saints, I think that has money match written all over it, and definitely fits the bill for a stand and deliver. But yeah, overall, entertaining NXT. Yeah, obviously, I have a big hole to fill with the Vaquer relinquished title. But I'm looking forward to those qualifying matches in the next couple weeks. And yeah, Ethan Page and Ricky Saints should be a ton of fun. So yeah, overall, I give this NXT a 6.5 out of 10. for what we got, it was an entertaining NXT. Yeah, just a couple shocking results and appearances, but overall, I feel like we're still safely on the road to Mania, which is 2 NXTs left. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, not long now until we get to Stand and Deliver. I think the landscape is starting to shape up and to take shape now with everything going into it. Obviously, got the qualifying matches for the Women's North American Championship ladder match taking place, as well as obviously a new champion being crowned on the men's side of the title as well. So yeah, I think exciting stuff coming along here for NXT. A new champion. I think with a dark state, you never know really what's going to happen. Obviously, the triple threat match having been announced. Yeah, I think a lot of steps were taken here going into Stand and Deliver. So it's quite interesting to see what we get next and going forward as to what happens between now and Stand and Deliver in the build up to that. I think regarding this episode of NXT, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. So kind of close to what you said. I think, yeah, for a show that didn't really have a lot of content, I thought the content was pretty decent. And yeah, those shocking decisions actually made it sort of like feel a little bit better. So that was pretty good for me, I thought. Yeah, I think maybe just the lack of content in this one, I think maybe just sort of like summed up for me. I don't know if it was maybe like a shorter show than normal or something, perhaps, but yeah, it just felt like it sort of like flew by for me when I was watching it. I'm not too sure if that's just me, but I think yeah, I would like to see a little bit more. Perhaps, and maybe the rating would have gone up a bit more. But yeah, a solid show for what it was, but just wanted to see a bit more. That's basically what I'm saying. Regarding this episode, though, that is all of our thoughts here for NXT's recap for this week. If you guys really enjoyed this one, then please let us know in the comments as to what you thought. If you disagree with anything that we said, let us know as well. And also, if you did like this one, then please hit a like on the video and subscribe to our channel for more content coming up very, very soon, including SmackDown's recap coming up this weekend. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into The Push with Nick and KP, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much, and goodbye.